Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 24 of the third and short overtime podcast. Obviously, we missed last week. A few of us were busy, unfortunately. We apologise, but we're back this week. Minus JP, who's not feeling well. Hopefully, it'll be better for next week. And I don't think it had anything to do with 49ers losing again, because we're not even going to talk about him. But hopefully, he's better for next week, and we see him again soon. So. Obviously, we're on limited time this week, but let's just jump straight into it. So, thoughts from week 8. Obviously that's what we're talking about last week. And I think before we get into the stock up, stock down, just the one thing I wanted to touch on week 8 was Sean Payton. Just a great head coaching performance from him. Like with everything that went on. Obviously, Jameis Winston went down. He came in with his third choice quarterback, and obviously his wide receivers and stuff like that. Like bottom of the line. I know me and Tom had a conversation in our chat where we were saying that the Giants are on the at the bottom of their depth chart on offense, on receivers and stuff, and they're struggling. But what Sean Payton did there to get the win against Bucks, obviously I know Brady threw the interception late on, and the defense is, we know the defense is good. But yeah, I thought on offense they got the job done with Trevor Seaman, and I just wanted to mention that first before I went in there. Mark, anything before apart from the stock up, stock down you want to mention in week 8?
No, I mean, that was a really good thing that you've mentioned there. Obviously, we're going to talk about this player a little bit later on, but just Mike White as well. This is a guy who was drafted originally by the Cowboys in 2018, has been cut numerous amounts of times by the Jets themselves. But yet he was kind of thrust in. And what a performance from that guy. I'm not going to go too much in it because I know we're going to touch on it. I want to say thank you to Munzi for tuning in and leaving some comments already. That's very kind of him. And it's just been a weird week. It's always weird when your team's on bye, but it's even weirder when you're a fan of my team. I don't know how I feel about football at this moment in time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think we're obviously going to touch on that as well later on. And my Seahawks are on a bye week this week, so it's one of them, in it, where obviously you think you can enjoy football, but you come out of it thinking I kind of miss my team and stuff. I wanted to watch my team, so we'll see how it goes this week. Hopefully, we could do with a bye week, so we might have Russell Wilson back next week. So, Bones, what about you from week 8?
Well, I think you two have hit the big nail on the head. Look, all these backups that came in and smashed it this week. Glad to be going into a bye week, I guess. that's probably my thinking of the end of this week. But no, what another solid week of games. I had a lovely time, but yeah, I'm glad I'm going into a bye week.
I've just got one more thing to add, and somebody who we didn't mention, because they've never really had a running game all season. But what a great performance by Boston Scott of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's got 3 touchdowns in 2 games. They've struggled to run the ball all season. But that guy's come in, and if they can get a ground game going, that might be good for that franchise, because they haven't been able to run the ball, or they've been reluctant to run the ball so far. So shout out to Boston Scott as well for his weekly performance against your Lions, Bones. I knew that, mate.
You'll get a chance to talk about your Lions later on, Bones, don't worry. But first, obviously, let's get into stock up, and we'll start with, like Mark mentioned there, Mike White and the Mike White, should I say, and the New York Jets. Obviously, a big win for them against the informed Bengals, which another one, they already beat the Titans in the season we didn't see coming, and obviously they've done the same again now with the Bengals. But I'll just go through Mike White's stats. He had 37 completions from 45 attempts. That's 82.2% completion rate, 405 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have 2 interceptions. One of them were not really his fault. We've only tried to force into. I think it was, I don't know if it was Michael Carter when he wasn't looking, thinking, turn around and catch this. Hit him straight in the noggin, and it was bounced up and picked off. So the only thing I will say, I know, like you mentioned, a good performance, Mark, and it was a good performance for Mike White. The completion rate says it all. But what I did see is I thought the way I think it's Michael Florin at the offensive coordinator at the Jets, and Mike. Obviously Salah there as well. Obviously defensive minded. They must have watched a lot of Bengals tape, and they must have schemed perfectly for him, because he didn't throw a pass more than 25 yards. Everything was short and underneath. Obviously the way Bengals play, I think they have maneuver around from a cover 3 a lot of the time and stuff. Obviously change around, but the safety sits back quite deep, and they just found the soft spots. And Michael White was just, obviously, he's still got to be accurate as a quarterback. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what I'm saying. It was a good performance still, but I thought the scheming as well from Jets, they must have seen, like I said, a lot of Bengals tape, and they took full advantage. And the Bengals didn't really react to it. You know, you knew what was coming all the time. And even when the short passes went on, they had a running back coming out of the backfield, and there was always a pass on for Mike White. You know, and like I say, I'm not taking anything away from him, Mark, but obviously I just thought I'd throw that in as well from the scheming point of view from the Jets team.
Yeah. Even though he was drafted in 2018, Mike White, this was his first start as an NFL player. And he threw for over 405 yards. The last player to throw for over 400 yards on their debut was Cam Newton, way back when he was a rookie. And then he did it the week after as well. You know, like, so can Mike White hit back-to-back seasons, back-to-back games of 400 yards? I mean, look, they're playing the Titans. Sorry, they're playing the Colts tonight. They're playing the Colts tonight. And there's an opportunity there as well, because I wouldn't say that the Colts defense has been locked down at all this season. You know, if I was a Jets fan, you know, watching his performance, there's a few things outside of Mike White that I even get as excited. You know, Michael Carter had a good game. You know, he had 77 yards on the ground in the touchdown, and he had an additional 95 yards through the air. You know, like, he was one of their he was their running back draft pick. I think they took him in the 3rd round out of UNC. And people thought he would fill in a 3rd down kind of role. But really, he's become the featured back there, which I didn't really predict that going into the season, Jordan. You know, I watched a bit of UNC tape. I thought Javonte Williams was the hammer for them, and that Carter would be the change of pace, you know, back like he was at UNC. And I could kind of see him filling that role for the Jets, but he's really becoming a do-it-all target. You know, Elijah Moore, he's still there. He's a game player as well, although he didn't feature in this game, obviously. Well, he did. He had 6 catches for 67 yards. But what I mean is he didn't feature with the big statistics in this game, you know. Another player who's been impressive for me this season for this Jets team. And look, let's just spend a little bit of time here talking and giving the Jets fans some hope. There's a guy who they drafted out of West Virginia a couple of years back, and he fell in the draft because of an Achilles injury. He was never fast. He was never really athletic. But he was a really good scholar, and he was a really good film student. A bit like Richard Sherman, you know, made up for his lack of athletic ability with some nous. And I'm talking about the cornerback, Bryce Hall. You know, and he's been really impressive for them. I know he's posting a PFF grade of over 70 this year. And really, when you look at the rest of the defense, he's leading it by a long way. So there's a few things we can start looking about and talking about the Jets with a little bit of hope. They're in a rebuild. Look, they're not going to compete this year. I think if they get 4 wins, they're going to feel good about their season. They've got a lot of draft capital. I don't think, obviously, Mike White, we're going to praise him because he had such a good game, but he's not who they want to be their long-term quarterback. They just spent a number 2 draft pick on who they want to be their number 2 quarterback. But look, this guy played well. They got a win against the Bengals. We've been a bit of a kiss of death. Like, we talk teams up, and then the week after they go and lose. It's been that kind of NFL season, you know, where nobody's really able to run with any kind of level of consistency. The Bengals, look, a couple of weeks ago we were talking about how great they were playing, and yet they've got to New Jersey, and they've just got beaten by a guy making his first career start, you know. It's been that kind of season in the NFL. But yeah, props to Mike White. Well done, Mike White. Let's see if you can get another 400-yard game, 2 in a row. And let's see if you can join the likes of Cam Newton for his debut, you know, within the NFL. Maybe he's a future MVP like Cam Newton was. You never know.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the Cam Newton thing. I just wanted to add to that Cam Newton thing. Those are the only 2 quarterbacks since 1950 to throw for over 400 yards in their debut as well, just to make that record even more impressive. It is not an easy one to beat if only 2 people have done it since 1950. Yes, it's. I really liked Mike White's tweet. Did you all see it? I don't like losing to rich white kids, is what it said, and it was just What a statement! I understand what you're saying. Like, this isn't the Jets' future by any stretch, but this guy's gone out and made himself a case for a contract from someone that's maybe better than a backup contract. Like, I feel like, and if he can do that consistently while Zach's out, then someone might come in and take a chance on him in the off season. Like, a team with nothing to lose, who knows? And I think if he can keep this up, it would be fantastic for him. But there's not much more than that to add to what you guys have already really said.
Yeah, I think Mark said it as well. Obviously, great performance, but we want to see him back it up now. Like, I'm actually seeing how long Zach Wilson's out for. I don't know if any of you guys know, but I know he's not anytime soon. Mark, do you want to make a quick point?
What, we're in week 9 at this moment in time, aren't we? And Zach Wilson's slated to come back week 10. They think he's going to be back for week 10. If the Jets go to the Colts tonight, and let's say they get a victory, and Mike White, if he plays well or not within that, do they go with Mike White next week and do they bench Zach Wilson? If they win 2 games off the belt with Mike White at the helm, the question is, next week, week 10, do they go with Wilson or do they go with White? What would you do?
I think, honestly, it's not to cut you off, Jordan, if you were going to say so. I think there's no reason to not start Mike White almost. We've said before, like, slowly developing a quarterback can be good for them. And I think continually putting Zach Wilson into a situation that he clearly wasn't thriving in is only going to damage his confidence. You're just going to have Sam Darnold 2.0 in New York. Like, you're just going to have a guy whose confidence is just destroyed by the time you've got any pieces for him to play with. So maybe let Mike White have a few games if he gets on a hot streak. What's the worst that could happen? You're already not having a great season.
I totally agree with you, Bones. If I was in that thing, I'd do the same. But when it comes to high draft picks, you look at the head coach, don't you, and think, I've put my like neck on the line for this guy, at pick number 2. So it becomes the matter of Robert Saleh and the organization. Have they got the guts to say, yeah, Zach Wilson staying on the bench, for Mike White, even though he's playing well or not, so that's what it'll come down to. Like, obviously everyone will have different opinions on it. Like, I think you start the form person, the guy who's in form, you start surely. But you know what it's like in New York. We spoke about how many episodes before people start talking and picking teams for people. So as Salah got the guts to say, I'm picking this guy in form over my number 2 pick who hasn't been playing well. Obviously, I'm sure it'd be interesting if he does have a good game tonight, and it puts that ball in Robert Saleh and everyone's court, to make that decision. Obviously, if he has a nightmare tonight, it's an easy decision come week 10 more than likely. But we'll see, and only Robert Saleh and people will know what he wants to do. So obviously, staying in the AFC East, I know Mark wanted to put the Patriots down. I'm going to throw it over to him because he wanted to mention a running back in particular that's playing well for the Patriots. Big win for him as well, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, Damian Harris is quietly becoming a very good running back. In his last 4 games, he's got himself 5 touchdowns. He's had 2 100-yard games out of those last 4 games. This week he had 80 yards. He had 23 carries. He had a few fumbles earlier on in the year, which is always going to lose you the trust of Bill Belichick, But since then, he's rounded back and come back. It doesn't really affect the run. It doesn't really affect the passing game or anything like that. He is a traditional downhill one-cut running back. But, we know in the past that the Patriots have kind of used a committee backfield. They've had Rex Burkhead. They've had players like that there, James White and things like that. And I think that's what they've landed on someone they trust for 2 downs. And of course, James White comes in for the 3rd down. He's a terrific 3rd down back. But yeah, this was just a really good performance against a very good Chargers team. Again, we give the Chargers a kiss of death by talking about how good they were last weekend. Justin Herbert struggled against the Patriots, in the past, in his rookie season. He's had to go back and play them again because of this new 17th game that we're playing now. Normally you'd have to wait 4 years until you played them again. But because of the 17th game, they got the Patriots. And he got he became unstuck again there, like, you know what I mean? And look, you've got to be wary of teams who round into form at the right time. So you almost think the back half of the season, in an EFC where we haven't really got a clear like a clear leader, where it seems as if everyone's taking games off each other, and the Bills are probably at the top at the moment, and and then there's a whole host of teams underneath. This Patriots team's capable of winning 4 or 5 games in the belt. Capable of winning 4 or 5 teams in the belt. And if it can go into the playoffs, it could be a dangerous team in that AFC. It could be a dangerous team in that AFC. We know they're well coached. Aguilar's getting into the game now. Mac Jones is starting to grow now as a quarterback. I think out of the rookies, the bar's been low because none of them have been amazing. But Mac Jones has probably been the best out of the rookie quarterbacks. He's not been asked to do a lot, but he took a few more chances down the field this week. Aguilar had 3 grabs for 60 yards. He's using him more vertically. The tight ends are doing better. And I just think that this is a team maybe to watch because they are well coached. They do. Bill Belichick team hates turning the ball over, and I don't think they'll give many turnovers. And I think that defense is good enough to. I mean, they just held the Chargers, to 24 points. I just think that this is a team that could build up a head of steam and nobody's going to want to face them. Put it that way in the AFC playoffs. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, this was the team that. Sorry, I had my mic muted. I was trying to hit that. I've missed the button like 4 times because I'm a clown. This is the team that I picked as the team that didn't make the playoffs last year that might make it this year. And I mean, it looked a bit outlandish at the time, but I don't think it's that crazy. Like I thought coming out of the draft that Mac Jones to New England was probably the best shout out of who was going to get picked to go where. And Gary said it in the chat. He's the best quarterback to come out of the draft, and I do think part of that is where he's playing as much as anything else. Like some of the other ones are like Justin Fields had a good week. He's taking steps forward, but I think Mac was put into a situation where he was going to be able to thrive. Like the kind of offense Bill liked to run anyway is the kind of offense that Mac was proven to have the mentality for and the quick read. Like we saw this week especially, it was read 1, 2, 3 out, and it was on point every time, as he knows when to make his reads, when to throw the ball, when the ball needs to come out. And yeah, there's been growing pains, shall we say. He's a rookie quarterback. It's not going to be perfect, but Bill got him a 2 tight end set with 2 good tight ends, something he was used to at Bama. Like that's good for Mac. Yeah, I think earlier in the year we questioned Bill Belichick, the GM, but I think Bill Belichick, the GM, has maybe set Mac Jones up for success with that those offensive signings, and I think, yeah, it could get better for them. I did see someone today suggesting that the Patriots try and push for OBJ as an extra wide receiver for themselves, but I think they made other great additions this year. We've seen Matt Judon has been absolutely phenomenal in that defense. He's been an outstanding player for them. I think that was a great offseason pickup. So yeah, I think you're right. I genuinely think the Patriots are one of those teams that's almost a dark horse threat that could sneak up into the AFC playoffs and knock a couple of teams out that thought they were safe.
It's so weird to be talking about the New England Patriots as a dark horse and one who's sneaking up. But I genuinely think they are sneaking up, Buns. I agree with everything you said. We talk about young rookie, quarterbacks and what they need to develop. And a rookie's best friend's a running game and also a tight end. And he's got 2 of them there in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And this running back, Damian Harris, who's coming along, he's also a Bama guy, is doing he's doing a great job, you know what I mean? Or he's doing a really good job. There's plenty of players on this team that I like with the Patriots. You know how much I love me corners. And JC Jackson is a very good corner. It's one of the reasons why they let go of Gilmore, He was an undrafted rookie. I've talked about him on the Saturday show. He really is a very, very good cornerback. He's going to get paid this summer, and I'm guessing it's going to be paid by the Patriots. They're not going to want to let him go. Judon, again, had one and a half sacks in this game, And Christian Barmore is really starting to come on as a rookie in this team as well. He had half a sack this game. But if you watch him in this game, he was penetrating from the interior. He was stuffing the run. This was maybe his best game as a rookie, Christian Barmore. Another Alabama prospect, by the way, who slid to the second round and the Patriots grabbed him. But yeah, he's starting to round into it as well. And they've got one of the better offensive lines in the NFL as well. They've got a good offensive line. There's enough about this Patriots team to think, yeah, they can make the playoffs and they can make it uncomfortable forever to meet, And if you're playing in New England in December or January, that's a tough place to go to with the weather and whatnot,
Yeah, I think you're both right. I think both sides of the AFC and NFC are so messy behind 2 or 3 teams, for the playoff positions. And obviously, we've still got half a season to go. But you get the Patriots in, if Bill Belichick gets them into the playoffs, I don't think anyone wants to play them. Obviously, at Foxborough, yeah, but just in general, once you've been to the playoffs, you know what it's about. You know how to win these tight games and as well if need be. And it's wide open for them to have a run in, and they've got to play Jets. I think they've got to play Jets once, and I think the Dolphins once. So that should be 2 wins from there. I know we shouldn't do that because, like we mentioned, that we built Chargers up over a week and stuff, and that look at them crumble. So, but yeah, I totally agree with you. On the Patriots. Bones, have you just got a last point before we move on?
Yeah, touch wood on the old curse there, but no, I think the best way I can explain it with the Patriots is like for the playoffs is it doesn't matter what sort of players the Patriots really have. There's always this thing in your mind of Bill Belichick and his coaches can probably get it done. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate Patriots coaches outside of the Patriots, but in New England it works, and it works really, really well. And you just can't argue with the results of it, and it's going to scare any team. That defense has played very well this year.
Obviously, the last one on the stock up, we've got the Los Angeles Rams, and it's not for the win over the Texans. I think most people beat the Texans most weeks, but obviously this week it was the end of the trade deadline, and obviously they picked up Von Miller on a trade. I think it's a great pickup for the Rams. Obviously I know McVay he likes to trade his picks away. Obviously, I know we mentioned in chat, Mark, you said he's going to get some compensation picks, from people that have gone in the past, but you don't mind trading his picks away for veteran players. And I'll come to you, Mark. How much do you think? Obviously, he's going to play in the season now, but how much is he looking at January with this Von Miller pickup, going forward?
Yeah, we've put Von Miller on here because he really is a winner this week with the spotlight he's landed in. He's landed at the 7-1. Rams. He's in LA, so he's stayed West Coast. Hasn't had to move a great deal, left coast. Yeah, he's stayed, yeah. But it is left coast, isn't it, really? It's the left-wing central of America. Woo! You know what I mean? So he's stayed West Coast. He's, and this is just such a great destination for him. He must be thinking, 2nd Super Bowls possible. I've got a future Hall of Famer on the defensive line in Aaron Donald. I've got a young pass rusher in Leonard Floyd opposite us. I've got a lockdown corner behind us, who's going to make it hard for quarterbacks to get rid of the ball quickly. Look, he's had a few injuries. He's going to be fit. He's going to start. He's going to be a problem. Look, the way the Rams build their franchise is just, I think Les Snead does an amazing job. Because what he does, he goes, we're going to compete every single year, which means we're going to be picking in the last 5 or 6 picks of the draft every single year. And we all know it's hard to get the talent evaluation right at the back end of that round 1. Christ, I'm a Raiders fan, and we can't even get the talent evaluation right in the first 20 picks, yet alone in the back 5 picks. And he almost goes, I'm not bothered about it. I'm not bothered about them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sign these guys. I'm going to trade for these guys. I'm going to perennially draft middle or late round people. I'm going to let me players walk on free agency so I can get compensatory picks. I don't think what people realise is they're going to get a load of compensation picks this year. They've got the 2 lads who joined Cleveland, John Johnson and Troy Hill. They'll probably pick up 2 third compensatory picks. They've got Michael Brockhouse, he's going to bring in a 5th. They've got, might even bring in a 4th. They've got Gerald Everett, he's going to bring in a 5th. You know what I mean? So they're going to have 4 compensatory picks in the draft as well. And yeah, look, Les Snead. Opposing fans get hung up on the draft. I love the draft, but it's a crapshoot at best sometimes. You know what I mean? It really is. You can watch tape and everything like that and still not get it right. You know, and it's almost as if they go, we don't want to take the chance. We'll take the chance in the middle of the late rounds, and we'll pick up those players who we can work with and develop. But we want superstars, and we want superstars who can come in today and win today. And that's what Von Miller is. What a great signing this is for them. What a great situation it is for Von Miller. It's one of those deadline trade things where you think that suits the player and that suits the team. And it's just a good move. It's well done, Von Miller, for making it work. Well done to the Lambs. Well done to the Rams for being able to make it happen. And just, yeah, he's even though he played on the Broncos, which is one of my rivals, he's still one of my favourite players in the NFL. And I really hope he terrorizes the NFC, because he's terrorized the AFC West for long enough. Great move for him. Well done, Von.
I think you hit it there like a few times. I think this is the Rams definitely announcing, as far as I'm concerned, their Super Bowl push. I think this is the Rams saying, yeah, this is the year we push for it. I think because they've given up all the draft capital now, which isn't saying much with the Rams, because like you said, they do still take the shots in the later rounds. But the crazy thing with the Rams is they hit on these later round picks quite often. And I know it's not a particularly late round pick, but I thought a pick they got last year that it was a great value, and he sat on my fantasy team, is Tutu Atwell. I still think that's a fantastic signing in the end of round 2 to get him still. They do that later and later in the draft, and they do seem to hit on these picks. But it's like you said, when you're making a Super Bowl push, you go out and sign people who are known quantities. Like, you don't go and sign a college like that. You never, like, that's not how you win the Super Bowl, is it? When you're in that frame, in that window, you go and get people. And this is unbelievable. That defense is going to just shut down people. And we've talked about this when we were talking about rebuilding the Lions, like, because the Rams are so often going to be in the lead, like, because they've got a good offense, which we'll maybe talk about at some point. But this defense is going to be able to pressure quarterbacks because they're going to have to sling the ball. So people like having Von Miller and Aaron Donald coming at you is going to cause problems for pretty much all the teams. And we saw pass rush basically win the Super Bowl last year. So I don't know. It's a big signing for the Rams. I agree. And you know my feelings on this team.
I don't think we play Rams for the second time till week 15. I'm already dreading Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and Leonard Floyd flying at Russell Wilson. Remember the last time we seen him in a Seahawks jersey? I don't know, but I think both spot on, Mark. Like when you say, like, I hate to say it, like, obviously Rams. I'm not a Seahawks fan, and I don't like Rams, but you've got to give respect to where it's due. And Les Snead does a fantastic job, because sometimes teams let players go without a plan. Rams always know that they have got the next man up. Like you mentioned, the players that have gone. Troy Reader has come in and done a job at linebacker. He's doing well, and Tyler Rapp from another Husky, he's done a fantastic job at safety, taking up from Johnson. He's been brilliant for him. They never let people go. The way they run the business is funny. They never let people go when they'll know that they're not going to be short somewhere. And like I mentioned there, Burgess at safety too. Mark. It's so. Even though I want to hate them, they just do such a good job, and they're a good team to watch as long as they're not playing the Seahawks. They are a very good team. So I think I'm going to move on from the Rams before I give them too much sweet talk. So obviously moving on to stock down, we'll start at the top and go. We'll start with Kansas City. Obviously, we could have brought them. We weren't here last week. We could have brought them up last week. I know they got the win against Giants. I'm just going to be as quick as I can throwing this out. Like, I haven't seen a lot of the Chiefs this year, but I did watch the Giants game, and Mahomes is struggling big time. But this offensive line, like, it's a shame JP in here to talk about it, because I just look at this offensive line and they're struggling. Even Orlando Brown's like struggling on that offensive line, and the Giants only had to rush 4. Like, I don't know if this is a regular occurrence with all the teams that are playing the Chiefs this year, but it seems like it will be. Rushing 4, they can leave 7 at the back, and the safeties are dropping so deep that Tyreek, by the time that the pass rushers have got near Mahomes, Tyreek Hill ain't got a chance to burn up the pitch. and they're just catching it, they're going to Mahomes. I think you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, Mark. Beat me playing the short game. Beat me playing the short game. And Mahomes, he just doesn't want to do that all the time. He wants to ping these big balls going forward, and he's getting caught out, like he's forcing stuff. That's why we're seeing so many interceptions, I believe. Like I said, I haven't seen the previous games. It just feels like this is what is happening, especially what I saw with the Giants game. It's like they've said, right, beat me on the short game, and Mahomes is pinging these, trying to ping these balls in that are not on forcing it because he's not a quarterback who can just keep playing these short balls across. And obviously, like I said, I could go on for longer, but I wanted to bring you guys in. And obviously, I don't know if it's affecting Travis Kelce. I don't know what's up with Travis Kelce. He just doesn't look himself these last 3 or 4 weeks. Mark, is there anything else you want to add on the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously another interception for Mahomes and stuff like that. I mean, they were lucky they found Derek Gore and got him going this game, because this would have been another defeat for them. And kiss of death again. We talked about this bloody Chiefs offensive line and how it could be emerging, and how they had, the drafted Creed Humphrey, who was a really good center out of Oklahoma, and how they'd got Smith, who was playing at a guard beside him, and he was a real people mover at Tennessee, and how they brought Orlando Brown over from the Ravens, and how good he'd look at left tackle last year when he had to play for the Ravens. And all of them are really struggling. It's they're over-relying on Hill as well, I think is what it is, Jordan. We talked about how much Sammy Watkins was going to be a miss as this viable number 2 in this offense. And we've talked about it again since. I mean, Mecole Hardman had a reasonable game in this. He had 5 catches for 63 yards. You know what I mean? But they're just, without that real threat who teams have to worry about opposite Hill, it means that they can double team Kelce. And what they can go is they go, right, okay, we'll double team Kelce. We'll undercover him, which means we'll have a linebacker underneath him, and we'll bring a safety over the top of him to cover him. What we'll do is then we'll focus on Hill, because we know this other wide receiver isn't going to be doing anything, and it's almost like beat us there. Now, when Watkins was there, he could beat you. He was a first-round talent out of Clemson and was being a good wide receiver himself. Was never really met his expectations of what he was going to be in his career. But you had to watch out for him because he could beat you. And there's nobody else in this team that can do it. Do you know who would be fantastic in this team? And we mentioned them earlier, OBJ. If OBJ lands on waivers and if he is cut by the Browns, and let's put this out there, right? Anybody who's saying they don't want OBJ is either sniffing gas, clueless, or just biased, I guess. Because OBJ is going to improve 31 rosters in the NFL. The only one I think he wouldn't improve would be Tampa Bay. And I include that in Cleveland. And watch, OBJ is 28 years of age. He's already got 6 1,000-yard seasons behind him. He's already got 2 seasons with double-figure touchdowns. He's a 2-time All-Pro. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. And people are that stupid. They're going, don't want OBJ. I heard a Raiders fan say, we don't need OBJ. We've got Zach Jones. You know what I mean? We've got Zay Jones. And we've got Stoner coming up from the practice squad. And I'm like, that, are you mental? Are you seriously telling me that OBJ is not better than Zay Jones or an undrafted rookie who made his way onto a practice squad? Look, rant over, because I've just read some absolute bullshit on Twitter where people are like, don't want OBJ, bad locker room. I'm like, where are you getting that from? Because I pulled up a quote by Tom Coughlin, who said he was amazing in the locker room and a brilliant teamwork. And the only thing that got in his way was his passion to win. And when he's passionate to win, he demands the ball because he wants to take the team on his back. And what's happening in Cleveland is if you watch the All-22 tape, he's open 9 times a game. Baker's just not able to make the throw or not keying in on him or whatever. OBJ is ready for a move. And if he comes to the Chiefs, the AFC's fucked. You know what I mean? Because I think Mahomes would probably find his form pretty quickly within that. But that's what they're lacking. Mahomes is lacking in confidence. He's having to play with more discipline. He wants to go down the field. He doesn't like taking it short. Andy Reid needs to design a short game for him. You know what I mean? And he needs to get it in his head that sometimes he's got to throw the ball away. He's never had to do that before. He's always been able to throw these YOLO balls and someone's come down with it. So he's stuck on doing that. It's like he's been conditioned to do that in his career. He needs to be more patient. They need to find a viable number 2 wide receiver. They might go pick up Djax. They might go, I'm surprised they didn't look at Brandon Cook in a trade. Heaven help the EFC if OBJ ends up there, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, it looks wrong, but these are still a good team. And I don't want to kick them when they're down. We play them in a few weeks, like, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of thinking, like, Mahomes is too good to stay bad. I think all quarterbacks struggle at points in their career. Mahomes is having to adapt to what has worked well for him to come into something new, which is short and being patient and throwing the ball away and taking 2 yards if there's 2 yards there. But he'll figure it out because he's phenomenal. You know what I mean? He'll figure it out because he's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen play the game already in his young career. But I know why you've got them on stock down, because it didn't look good against the poor Giants, in all honesty.
I think there's a couple of points that, like, John, you mentioned Travis Kelce not having a great year. I was reading or listening to something this week where Kelce was talking about how he's had to block more this year than really ever before. So I wonder if that's probably factoring into his lack of production. Is he's having to try and bolster that offensive line that, on, like you said, they're not playing great together yet. Like, I think is the thing to sort of add to that is, I don't think this offensive line is like, I don't think you should sort of give up on that. I definitely think they've still got the potential there. I think they're not really showing the comfort together, but then we've talked about it a couple of times. The shortened preseason has impacted a lot of teams, like, sort of just ability to play together, and Mahomes looks uncomfortable behind that offensive line, and that's currently what I think is the first thing that needs to be fixed. Is if they want to be getting the ball down the field, is Mahomes needs to be comfortable behind that line, like, and I know he's good when he needs to improvise, and he's great on the run, but he looks like he's getting out of there a bit too soon and stuff like that. Quick point on the OBJ thing, just to add, I think Browns fans are mental to think that they should get rid of him in the first place. Like, never mind all the teams that say they don't want him. Like, the Browns have got him. Why are they trying to? Idiots, like, actual idiots. I'd give you 3 of our receivers for OBJ. Have them, like, fools.
Mark.
Yeah, look, I think there's clearly this media thing of what OBJ is. When the truth is when the game's on, the camera is on him. Do you want to know why? Because he's fucking good. You know what I mean? And yeah, he is a personality and stuff like that, but he's not a bad locker room. He's not a bad locker room guy. You only got to listen to what Tom Coughlin, who was one of the most brutal NFL head coaches of his generation, and he loved him. He fell out with Ben McAdoo because the Giants were going stagnant and they were shite, and the kid wants to win. You know what I mean? He's went to the Cleveland Browns, largely being thrown the ball by shite there. You know, and now him and Baker clearly aren't on the same page. And this isn't an Antonio Brown situation. I'm sorry, it's just not. You know what I mean? This is just not an Antonio Brown situation. I'm betting that somebody will pick up OBJ if he does hit waivers. It'll probably be within the first 5 claims, because he's never going to fall to my radars anyway. And he might fall your Seahawks, Jordan. You know what I mean? Or you'll certainly get an opportunity. Your Lions will certainly get an opportunity, Bones, because you'll be picking first on waivers.
We only have like 2 million cap space, though, don't we? Have to pay it if we pick him up.
Yeah, he's going to cost a wedge. Like, yeah, I mean, look, this kid's still good. This kid's still 28, and for people to be throwing him on the garbage heap, you know, like when he's had 6 1,000-yard seasons. One of them was in 12 games as well. You know, that's like 1,300 yards in 12 games one year. You know, over 100-yard a game average. And he had double-figure touchdowns that year as well, by the way. You know, like, this kid's one of the best wide receivers of his generation, and fans must either be goldfishes or just stupid. Because so many of them are on Twitter going, "Oh, we don't want OBJ. Don't have him. Wouldn't have him. He's washed up." You're like mental, absolute mental, crazy people, crazy ass motherfuckers.
I think that's it. Like, I think these people are saying they don't want him. They see an arrogant player, but you've got to remember there's a line, and there's arrogance in yourself, as in like, oh, I'm like, as in like against, like it's not beneficial to your team, but there's an arrogance in the confidence as well as like I am. We see it in cornerbacks. That's why so many cornerbacks are good. The arrogance to say that I am better than any receiver that comes up against me, and that is the arrogance that you want, and that's the arrogance you want with OBJ. You know, I am going to come up, I'm going to go up and get this ball because I'm better, and I need the ball over any other wide receiver on my team on the pitch because I am the best wide receiver. I'm going to be the game changer. And that's different on the pitch to going into the changing room. You know, just because he's like, you see him like that on the pitch doesn't mean he is like that in the changing room. You know, when you put your cleats on and you get onto the pitch, your demeanor changes. And some people don't like to see that in players. And I think they're the people that are saying, I don't want him on my team because they see him as immature and stuff, you know, like on the field. And especially going back and looking at the Josh Norman thing back in the day, I still love to watch that. It's brilliant. And also just a quick one before we go and move on to stock down. And you are right about the Chiefs. There's still time to fix it, and they can fix it, you know. And we will see going. Obviously, if they can fix it in time. But obviously, I think are they 4-4 now? Are they the Chiefs? So and the AFC is still wide open on that.
4-4, yeah, 4-4, John.
Yeah, so I think they've got time to fix it, and we'll see if they do. So, we are on stock down anyway. Well, I'm about moving on to stock down. Bones, I've put stock way down next to the Detroit Lions. Are we being too harsh? Obviously, you're the guy who watches them.
It's a tricky one with the Lions because it's not a good season. 0-8 is not good. It's not good for morale. It's not good for a lot of things. It is good for a rebuild, though, which we are definitely in the first year of. We have one of the highest dead caps in the entire league right now in the amount of stuff that the amount of players that we've either traded away or cut. Like Stafford was not a cheap player. Like we've taken on Goff's contract as well. And, you know, like I said before, we've got like 2 million cap space left, and look at the players we've got. Where's all the money gone? It's in dead cap. It's in dead money right now. And I think there's an article from like Pro Football Network or something trying to say Dan Campbell was going to be a one and done. And I think that's ridiculous. I think if you watch the All-22 rather than reacting to just the scoreline, it's clear that the game plan wasn't necessarily wrong. There was missed assignments. There was wide open passes completely missed, and that's not a fault of the game plan. That's a fault of it's just not. There's plays being missed by players, and Dan Campbell said we definitely do need to play perfect to win. We don't have the talent that other teams have. It's like I was saying before, I trade like 3 of our wide receivers to have an OBJ level talent in our receiver room right now. We're struggling. Like we brought in Terrell Williams to be our number 1 wide receiver, and he's been out all year with a concussion injury. Then we lost Quintez Cephas, who was sort of our second year rookie from last year, who was maybe coming on a bit. You know, we are running on backups at the wide receiver room. We're running on backups in the offensive line. We lost Frank Ragnow early on. We lost Taylor Decker, who has been reactivated this week, so that's good. I mean, there's 2 sides to that, because Sewell and Jonah Jackson on the left side, I think it's Jonah Jackson, have played really, really well together. That's been maybe the best part of our line, but losing Ragnow at center and not having Decker for several games is never going to be good for your running game. The highlight of the team right now, I'd say, is Swift. Like, I think Swift is doing really well. He said himself he didn't expect to be catching the ball this much this year. He has, over the most receptions for running backs, had the best yards after catch as well. Like, he's been playing really well as that receiving back. But like, he would be playing well as a running back if some of these blocks could be made. I was talking to Jordan before the podcast about a play from this week against the Eagles where the guard pulled across for a counter play and ended up falling over and taking himself and another blocker out on the play, which you're trying to run a counter play and 2 blockers fall over themselves. That it's not going anywhere, no matter how good DeAndre Swift is. Like, you need people to make the blocks. So it's going to be a tough year. If we go 0-17, that's bad for morale. But I think just saying, like, yeah, get rid of get rid of Campbell year one is insane. Like, he's got a 6-year deal. He was coming into a bad situation. We've got no cap. Like, just give it the year or two that it needs. And this draft could be really good for us, even if the Rams pick is a late one. It doesn't really matter. That's extra draft capital for a team that needs it. And once some of this dead money passes off and we can bring in free agents, I think we're going to have the right coaching structure to bring people in the future. It's going to be a much better place to play. So it sucks right now. It's a bad season. We're probably not winning many games because this was one of the winnable ones and we got battered. But it's Lions life, isn't it? The next year, it's going to get better. It has to get better next year. So, no, I do have faith in this organization right now, though. It's trending the right way. Just people need to not give up all hope.
You know, I'm going to talk a little about your rebuild, Bones. We've talked about this, and I know that Lion fans talking about Thibodeau in the draft coming up, and he is, I'd argue, Stingley. Jordan's going to argue Thibodeau. I think we're going to argue about who the best player this year's draft is, because it's not as good a class as what it's been in the past. Thibodeau is a great talent, and a lot of Lions fans are going, we want Thibodeau, we're going to tank, we're going to get Thibodeau. Thibodeau's not going to improve your team overnight. A pass rusher on a team that's bad isn't going to improve that team overnight. One, because to rush the passer, you've got to be playing with a lead, because the other team's got to be in passing situations, be able to make the most out of them. And if you're on playing with a lead, why you got this pass rush out, can't rush the passer? Like what you need when I look at this team, I think God just needs somebody who can cover, and you need somebody who's a leader, and you need somebody who can have the green dot on their helmet and can command the offense. I think what you need Kyle. You need Hamilton, from and he for me would be the player I was. If I was picking first in the draft and I'm not taking a quarterback, I'm trading back, Bones. I'm trading back. I'm getting more picks and I'm taking Hamilton. I don't want to drop too far down that I can't get him. If I'm trading back, I maybe want to trade to number 3. Not many safeties will go in the top 5, but this kid's really good. Really good. He's a really, really good safety. He's excellent in coverage. He can play in the box. You can flex him out the corner. He's basically Derwin James, but called Hamilton. And he's such a good player. I think there's need wide receiver. I like the 2 wide receivers from Ohio. I don't think you're going to have much of a shot of getting them, with the Rams pick later on. But if one of them was to fall, I would take either of those 2 guys from Ohio. And we talked about Nakobe Dean, who's really having a good season for Georgia. He's probably my linebacker number 1. I think PFF have him as their linebacker number 1. He's doing so well in coverage. He's got a coverage grade of over 90 at the moment. He's 6 foot, 225 pounds. He's smaller, but he's fast. He can blitz. He's not made to play in a 4-3 defense. If he plays in a 4-3 defense, he's going to have to play Will, because he's not got the size for middle linebacker. And he hasn't got the thump to play a strong side linebacker. So he's going to have to play Will, weak side linebacker. However, in a 3-4, which is what you run, he is ideal to play as the second middle linebacker. You can blitz him from the interior. You can use him like Dion Buchanan was used and like Patrick Queen is used at the Ravens and how he's coming along. And you can really just let him be free to make plays from sideline to sideline, utilize him in coverage and send him on the blitz. So there's enough there for you to get really excited about. There's a guy in the comments who's asked us a fantasy question. I'll answer this for you, Naughty 42. I would probably go with Cole Beasley, in all honesty. He hasn't had the greatest season. However, against Miami, he had 13 targets and he had 10 catches. I think if I'm picking between Cole Beasley or Jamison Crowder, I'm going to go Cole Beasley, because I do think that he's more trusted by Josh Allen. And whilst Jamison Crowder is a very good safety outlet for the Jets, I don't think that he will be as trusted as the rookie, as well as not the rookie quarterback, as the new quarterback, Mike White. I think he's going to probably favour Michael Carter more or Elijah Moore. So I would probably pick Beasley on the back of that, especially as he got 13 targets and 10 catches last week. So I'll answer your question for you, mate.
Quickly on that, the rebuild talk, I would love to get both those players, and I think even if we have to for Dean, because I don't think he's going to make it to the Rams pick potentially. If we have to use some of the draft capital we've gained to move back up in the first a little bit further to get both of those, I don't know. I think that would be a big difference maker. I think there's no quarterback that's worth taking for us that's going to make anything better right now, because I don't, as much as I do bash Goff, and I don't think he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think even a good quarterback would do well in this system right now. I think even a good quarterback would also struggle, and that is the problem. So yeah, we focused on the trenches last year. I think this year it is a good opportunity to move out a little bit, but I think the defensive side, fair play to Patricia, it only needs a couple more touches to be about there, and we'll see. But we just have to.
You need to get better at coverage. You need to get better at coverage.
Yeah.
So go get two players who are the best coverage in their positions. Go get a safety out and cover. Go get a linebacker out and cover. Dean can cover. Hamilton can definitely cover. Both are fast. Both can hit. Both will take the ball away. Dean's got interceptions this year. He could have two the week gone. He got ended up getting one. And his interception was brilliant. Go watch it. He plays it like a corner. His break on the ball, it's a hitch route. And he breaks on it and gets in front of that linebackers don't do that shit. You know what I mean? Like, he played it like a corner. The kid's really good. I'm really high on him, Bones. I think he's definitely somebody for you to watch. I don't think he's going to fall to the Rams pick. I think he's going to fall around about the teens. I think maybe I said 20 to 32. He could go as early as 16, mate. You know, he could go as early as 16. But he's a good player, Nakobe Dean. Go watch him. You've already been watching him. Watch some more of him. You'll get a hard on from him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Obviously, we started this podcast after the draft 2021, so it'd be nice to talk about that. I'm not wishing the season away. Obviously, we've still got a lot of football to play, but it'd be fun to talk about later when it gets to end of February after the Super Bowl. Obviously, the last stock down. Obviously, we had to mention it. It's sad news, really. Obviously, the thoughts are with the woman's family and friends who passed away. But obviously, Mark, I'll move on to you. It's Henry Ruggs. You know, obviously, what happened. It's what is he doing, man? Obviously, I hate to bring it up, but it's something we had to bring up. But what is he doing?
It's just a really sad, tragic conversation to talk about. I felt so depressed reading this news the other day. Obviously, my initial thought wasn't about football. It was about the fatality. And at the time, we hadn't learned about the fatality. And since then, we've learned it was a 23-year-old lady who sadly lost her life. You know, and that is tragic. This is a girl who will not be able to be replaced by her family and friends. This is a 23-year-old female. It was at the start of her life. I've read that she didn't have any children, thankfully. You know, but she did have parents. She did have friends. And that is the greatest tragedy out of this. Then, of course, I'm going to flip to Henry Ruggs. And I think about a 22-year-old lad, 22, you know, and I don't want to get on my moral high ground, because when I was 22, friggin', you know, I was serving time. You know what I mean? I was serving time. And I think of the errors that I made as a 22-year-old, and we're young, and we're stupid, and we do foolish things. I'm reminded that I don't know these players. I'm reminded that I actually don't know them. They're not friends of mine. I said this about John Gruden earlier on. You know, like, they're not friends of mine. I don't know them. I've never spent time with them. I've never broke bread with them. I've never met them offside the TV screen and what I see. But what did strike me about Henry Ruggs, and the feeling that I got, was he was quite a humble, focused individual. I don't think he intended to do this. Who would? I think it was an act of foolishness by a 22-year-old, you know, who's got cash for the first time, who's got stardom for the first time. He was in the car with his girlfriend. You know, maybe there was an element. I know when I was 22, I would show off the girls. I would try to play the big licks. I'm not saying that that's what's happened in this situation, but what it is, it's been a really terrible moment of error. And it's cost a 23-year-old girl one life. And it's cost a 22-year-old budding talent his career. And that's tragic. That is tragic on all levels. as a Raiders fan, I was brokenhearted. You know, I was brokenhearted on so many levels. You know, like, and the Raiders, you know, what a season they've had. You know, just 2 weeks ago, Derek Carr was at the podium facing questions about what had happened with John Gruden. And yesterday, I'm watching a press conference where he's facing questions, answering about what's happened to Henry Ruggs. And you know what it is, regardless of what anybody thinks of Derek Carr, what a man he is. What a man he is. You know, like, he is such a leader of men. The way he talked, the way he expresses emotions, the way he was almost vulnerable about the pain that he's felt in both situations. You know, Rich Bisaccia came on and then he spoke really well as well. They both said, look, I've been in a jail cell at the age of 22. I've been ready to face the dock at the age of 22. I've been isolated from those who loved me, but who I couldn't accept love from at the age of 22. I've been scared at the age of 22. I almost feel empathetic for Henry Ruggs in this situation, which is difficult to say because he's acted in foolishness and took a life. But the whole situation just makes us feel so sad because I know how long the penal system is sometimes. You know what I mean? And look, this is. I'm not trying to let him get away with this. You know, he's going to get punished for this. He's probably going to serve at least 10 years for this. This is the end of his football career. He should do 10 years for this. You know, you'll not get the maximum of 20 because it's not a second offence. But even as a first-time offence, with the graphic details that have been released in the press and his stature, this kid's going to get 10 years for this, I'm telling you. I'll be surprised if it's anything lower than 10 years. You know, his career's over. His career's over. He lost a friend in a car crash himself. You know, and I just, you know, the NFL, the Players Association have an option where any player can phone at any point of day and they'll get a car sent to them, no questions asked, total anonymity. You know what I mean? No. But what a lapse in judgment. 2 times over the limit, carrying an unlicensed firearm to make things worse, travelling at 156 miles per hour, going at 127 miles per hour at point of collision. You know, like airbags deployed at that time, as a computer on the car showed. He's lucky he lived. He's lucky he lived, but the person he hit didn't. And look, that's tragic. And what's even more tragic is that a 22-year-old is going to be living with that for the rest of his life. You know, out of that one decision, he wouldn't have attended it. I'm not excusing it, but it's tragic that it's ruined so many lives, including the family of the poor girl who was lost. You know, bye week is, you almost feel like you're going to kick your legs back and you're like, it's bye week, we're going to relax. These things cannot be predicted. I'm not saying my Raiders are cursed. It's not the case. This is a tragic event that could happen to anybody who's foolish enough to drink and drive. You know what I mean? This is the risk we have with drinking and driving. And people are talking about, is this as a result of moving to Vegas? You know what I mean? Vegas has got one of the lowest DUI incidents in the whole of America. So we know it's not about what moving to Vegas is. Do you know what this is about? It's about foolishness. It's about not thinking of the consequence when you do that action. It's about, I don't know, it's about young men with too much money. It's maybe about stardom coming too quickly for these. You know, we've talked about the lack of academies in the NFL and stuff like that, and how they really go from college to being TV household names. Ruggs had just signed a $2 million deal in sponsorship money to be the face of Adidas and different organizations Adidas amongst them. And it's just, I feel like I'm grieving 2 lives. I feel like I'm grieving Henry Ruggs' life, even though he's still living. But, you know, like, obviously we're grieving this life for this 23-year-old girl, and the more details we hear, the more it's just horrendous. You know, it's just a shitty, awful, fuck-ridden, tragic situation, and not one that you want to wake up from. You know what I mean? And I do hope, you know, that Derek Carr and Rich Bisaccia right to Ruggs. I do hope that players continue to tell him that they love him, because he's going to feel suicidal at this point. You know what I mean? And look, the universe works in fucking crazy ways. It just does. things happen and we think, why does that happen? And we find down the line, like people would have wanted to lock me up and throw me the key away on me for things I was doing. But the universe had to let me have that life so that now at this age of my life, I can do the things that I'm doing and help the people that I help. And it's the universe is crazy, and I just don't know what's going to come from this. But I guess more will be revealed. That's what I see at these situations. More will be revealed, and we might be waiting 30 years for what is intended by the universe to be revealed, but more will be revealed. Like there will be something from this, which was a universal plan, I guess, you know what I mean? Because it's just tragic. It's just tragic. It's just sad. It's just sad. It's just sad. And I don't really know what to say on the subject. It's difficult. It's another difficult subject to talk about, but it's just beyond sad. It's just beyond sad.
No, I don't think we can say much else. I think you covered it as well as anyone can really there, Mark. And I think the end bit was a great point. How everything works in mysterious ways and things like that. So, like you said, we won't say too much, and I think you covered it really well. And I'll leave it at that. I know that you have to get off, and you've got work duties tonight, Mark. And obviously, I know it's a weird scenario to move on from what we just talked about to this. But have you got any best bets for this week?
Yeah, Arizona are playing the San Francisco 49ers this week. And sorry, JP, but the bookies have got this as a scratch game, which means that there's no handicap on this. It's basically going down as scratch, so you're betting on the money line. Which means that the Arizona Cardinals are currently priced at, and I'll find this for you. So I was just having a look at it and I've lost it whilst I was talking about that. At 20-23, I really fancy, 20-21, they're almost even money. I'm going to put a couple of bets on this game. I really think that Arizona are going to beat San Francisco and win this game. I really fancy Devonta Hopkins for a touchdown. Hopkins for a touchdown. You know what I mean? So those are my bets. I'm going to put money on Hopkins to get a touchdown. I'm going to put money on Arizona Cardinals to beat the San Francisco 49ers this week.
I'm sorry. I'm just getting on that straight away because I don't know if that price will stay. That's so weird. That's. I know they're on the road at the 49ers, but the way the 49ers are playing, I just thought it seemed quite generous. Like we'll find out. So we'll find out on Monday how generous it was. If the bookmakers are normally right, aren't they? To be honest with you, but
if you want to put another little bet in there, look, given that the week that the Raiders have had and how poor they are coming off the bye, and the fact that they're playing in New York, New York Giants are +3 this week in the handicap to beat the Raiders. I'm a Raiders fan. I never bet against the Raiders, but I do think that the Giants can beat the Raiders on the back of this news and what must be a difficult emotional week. So if I was going to do a double, I would go with the Giants +3, the Arizona Cardinals at scratch. And if I'm doing a touchdown score, I'm going to go Hopkins.
Thank you very much, Mark. Obviously, thanks for coming on. Obviously, I know you got to shoot off and stuff. Me and Bones will finish off. We'll just finish off with a bit of MVP talk before we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll come out with a winner there.
Yeah, thanks, lads. I'm going to shoot off. I'll let you do MVP. Thanks very much for the show. Thanks to the listeners. Take care.
No worries. Cheers, Mark.
Look after yourself, man.
So, Bones, let's just finish off with some MVP talk. Obviously, we missed last week. You've got the nice little feature picture up there, and obviously we talked about this before, didn't we? Before we came on, where we were putting people. And obviously, I know Mark said that he thinks Dak Prescott's out in front. Obviously he didn't play this weekend and stuff, so he probably hasn't done any not done any harm to his MVP race, I suppose. And I think he should be back this week. So obviously you've put Murray and Brady just behind as well. Yeah, are you happy with that? Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, I think those first three are probably quite close no matter what. I think the point that was made earlier was basically that because Dak hadn't played, whereas Kyler and Brady had both sort of struggled this week, Dak was slightly edging them out on the basis that he hadn't done anything to damage. He hadn't done anything to improve his chances, but he hadn't done anything to hurt them either. So I think those three are still reasonably even in general. I think it's after that it gets a bit more, whoa, where's this person actually go?
Yeah, it's tight in it because obviously, like you said, obviously he didn't do anything to improve his candidate for MVP. But Kyler Murray and Tom Brady, I'm not saying they had ridiculously bad games. Obviously, they didn't have good games. Obviously, interceptions, both teams lost. And this is the thing. It's like in about 5 or 6 weeks, we'll probably see it settle down where there'll be 2 or 3, maybe 4, and it'll just be them until the end drop away. But so it's probably normal to have a bad game. It's how you bounce back from that. And obviously, they're still in there fighting. And Tom Brady's, apart from that game, was looking very, very good this year. He looked like he was in a league of his own at the moment. It just shows you how it can change in one game. And I'm expecting to. I'm not sure who the Bucs are if they want to buy. I haven't looked at them. I'm sure that they'll bounce back and it'll still have loads more games. It'll just be who comes up against. Obviously, I remember last time we had this. We had Derrick Henry up there. Unfortunately, it looks like it will be a quarterback. I know me and you was in favour of maybe having a running back MVP, and it was a possibility, but no more. It looks like it will be a quarterback after all.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point, because of that injury, there's no one else really who's done anything particularly outstanding at their position. There's loads of people playing well at their positions, but the problem with the MVP is to get the MVP and not be a quarterback, you got to play outstandingly, not just well. And I think there's not been that much of that this year. I think you're right. I think the Bucs are on a bye this week. I'm looking at the schedule now, and I don't see them playing. So, someone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Yeah, I think it's going to get interesting going forward because it's like you say. The reason I didn't think Brady would fallen that far behind is sort of, you touched on it there, is no, every team's not going to go undefeated. Even the best teams in the league who go on to win the Super Bowl are going to lose a game or two. Like you just can't have a clean sheet every season. It's not physically possible. So yeah, he had a bad game. It didn't go perfectly, but that Saints defense is no joke. Like, yeah, I don't hold it against him all that much.
Yeah, it's like you said, exactly. You're going to have off weeks and stuff. It's the majority percentage in it of how well you're playing. And also, you mentioned there, it's like Derrick Henry was like kind of carrying the Titans at the time. With his running. Obviously, he was on for the target, which is going to, like the record, which is going to help. But obviously, we've got Lamar Jackson at the back there. I can't remember who they played last time. With the Bengals that they lost to. I think maybe I'm wrong. He didn't have his best games, but before that, I know they lost to the Raiders as well. But even in that game, he carried them. He is actually one man who is carrying this Ravens team, and if he can carry on doing that in more games, he's going to fire himself to the front if others falter as well. Definitely.
I think he does if they can, like you say, if they can get the wins. I think the problem for them has been like it's not looked easy for them. Even the wins that they have got, there's been 1 or 2, but like we were in the game with them. That was a close game, and we've done terribly this year. The Bengals, you're right, did beat them 41-17, which was just a bit wild. He's such a phenomenal player, and he's so fun to watch. And I think that's part of it. Is he's electric when he's on the field, isn't he? It's just there's only so far that can take you. Sometimes people can diagnose ways to deal with that, and once one team shows they've got the formula, it's a copycat league. Everyone's got the formula as soon as someone has. So it's tricky for him.
Yeah, it's again like we mentioned. He started off really well. Obviously, he's had a couple of games where not so much, but I've seen Russell Wilson start off so well so many years, and he's just, even though he's got him into the playoffs, he's not as being faulted at the end, and he's not even got a vote. I thought he might have had a couple of votes, but he's never had a vote. But it shows you it's a long game. But yeah. I'm going to let you talk about Stafford. I can't not let you talk about Stafford after. But obviously, I've got to talk about Derek Carr. I know Matt's not here. Mark's not here. Yeah. He'd love to be here talking about him. I'm sure Matt will want me to talk about him as well. But he's there in the race. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not saying he's maybe put 1 foot forward and stuff. He's not like in the front of the pack, but again, it's still early, and he's stepped up and won them games this year, and that's all you can do. And early on, like if you just stick around, things might happen, and your team might get better later on. Obviously, the things that are happening off the field is not going to wouldn't normally help him. But he seems to have like pushed that to the side, and he's doing well. To be honest with you,
I'd agree. I think where Mark would come, I think where Mark would come from with this is like, because to some extent the MVP it isn't all about stats. There is a little bit of fan favoritism, and I like this person going into it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's people who vote on it, and it's not necessarily their vote isn't always, oh, this person statistically did really well. Like, and if Derek Carr continues to have a really good season after overcoming what he's had to overcome this season with losing a head coach and now a wide receiver and so on and so forth, yeah, that's a story people will buy into. It's similar for the reason I've been banging the drum for Matt Stafford since the preseason. The MVP award can be won by a story. It doesn't have, like, playing well to boot helps, like, but if you've got the playing well and a really good story combination, it's like the X Factor. Like, it's a ridiculous example, but you know what I mean? If you've got the little sob story and you're amazing, you can win the award. So yeah, I could see it in a world where he continues to play really well and people talk about it. I could see him winning it. Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. There's no one that's like, I remember over the last years and stuff, like obviously even Russell Wilson, like last year, like even though it didn't end well and stuff, the first 5-6 games it was unbelievable. For was setting on for breaking records Aaron Rodgers has done before. But it doesn't seem like there's anyone there right now that's like actually pounding the table saying that I want this award. It's quite open. Obviously we've got Josh Allen in the middle of that. I don't think we've talked about. I haven't talked about Josh Allen much at all this season, and obviously he's done some good things. He's had some quiet games, but that's how close it is, like Josh Allen, who really hasn't done extraordinary things. He's been good. Don't get me wrong, he's been good, and he's had some really good games. Like last season, Josh Allen was unbelievable, and he's had a couple of them games this year, but he's been a bit quieter. But he's still in that conversation because it is quite open at the moment.
He was one of the bookies' favourites. I think that was why I put him in. I think JP said he was up there as one of the top ones for the bookies, and I agree with you. We've not talked about it much this year, but I suppose the Bills have been quietly having a very good season. They're not playing terribly. It's just you just don't hear about it that much. It's weird, but yeah, they're quietly doing quite well.
Yeah, and obviously, I know. I think you made the joke, didn't you, in the group chat before? Should we put Mike White up there? He's actually, if you went on Sky Bet, he's actually there at 1,000 to 1. Someone's obviously requested for Mike White to put down for MVP, otherwise he wouldn't have been there, because like it just jumps from like, I think it's Lamar, like there's only about 8 quarterbacks up there, and it jumps from, I think it's Lamar to Mike White at 1,000 to 1. Obviously, someone's requested it, so
whoever that is, like all power to you for that bet, but. Jesus, I hope you've only put a couple quid on it. I hope you've not put like the house on it, because like we discussed before, it looks like Wilson will be back for week 10, and like you said, sometimes head coaches kind of have to go with their draft pick and just ride with it, or people are going to say, well, why did we pick them at such a high pick? And I don't know. He's first year coach. I think he could get away with it if he just said, I'm sitting in for a year just to get him improved. But we'll see. But no, like back to the MVP race. Yeah, there's some faces. Obviously, you know me. I've been pounding the table for Stafford since day one. He like, I'd still think if he goes on to have a phenomenal year, he'll just win it. He'll win it because it's such a storybook. It's a Disney film. Like 12 years of shite, 12 years of terrible teams that couldn't get it done with a quarterback who clearly can get it done. And then he goes on and has that's an NFL Films movie right there that's going to rake them in loads of money. They'll make him MVP for that alone.
If JP is well enough to be watching, I'm sure he's wanting to comment right now. But to be fair, I know we had a back and forth over the day. It were like good jests and stuff. I do agree with you. I do think that Matt Stafford is in that race, and he is just as much chance as anyone else on this picture that we've got as winning it. Obviously the Rams are doing well. He's doing like really well. I know I would take the mick like saying they didn't play well against the Seahawks. He didn't have the best game, but like we said, a few of these guys haven't had the best game sometimes. Yeah. And stuff. So, and the games that I have, other games that I've seen him in, has been good. So, like I said, he's just I'm saying it now live on earphones. There's just as much chance as everyone else to win it. I agree.
It's nice to finally hear it. No, I mean, like I said, there's points of the year where it is, it's me being biased. He's my team's quarterback for over a decade. Like, I'm always going to back him to do well because I feel for the guy. You spend 10, 12 years in Detroit and don't win a thing. Like, it's tough because he's such a great quarterback. The guy's got a cannon of an arm. I love watching him play in a team that actually has good players. But yeah, no, I think the MVP race, like you say, I don't think it's clear by any margin at this point. I think depending on the runs these teams go on, because strength of schedule for the rest of the year matters at this point. Like who you've got to play, whether you've got to play winning teams or losing teams is definitely going to impact the rest of the year. So yeah, it's still in such a crazy place right now, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year.
And obviously, just a quick one. Rams have got to play Cardinals twice. That's two MVP candidates there. Good performances in them games can put more feet forward into throw your name right into the hat.
I wonder if their end of the year is going to be 1-1. I wonder if like the Cardinals got the best of them the first time around. I wonder if the Rams will come back and be like, not again. Like especially with Von Miller being added to the pack to keep an eye on Kyle. Like he's going to. Do you reckon Miller's going to be playing like QB spy that whole game?
Yeah, potentially. He's like, they've just got so much talent. I think they could do what they want. They could play whoever, like Floyd could do it or anything. But I'm happy that them two games are still there to be watching. You know what I mean? So because they are going to be two fantastic tussles. I'm used to watching Seahawks tussling out for the top spot. Obviously, not going to this year, but I do. Like obviously, I love my Seahawks and stuff, and I always want them to do well. But I just love football, and them two matchups are going to be some great tussles for that NFC West.
Yeah, they love to throw the ball as far as physically possible, both of them, don't they? And that always makes like it's the old adage, isn't it? Offense sells tickets and defense wins championships. Offense is always more fun to watch, and those guys love slinging it. Like,
but yeah. I agree. The MVP race is wide open, and obviously moving on. Before we go, we'll look at. Normally we finish with the Geordie betting, but we'll look at Week 9 NFL matches. And I think the last 2 weeks there've been some good games, but we've been a bit like obviously teams on buys and stuff. But I just look at this week, and I think there's some really good games. Obviously, Chiefs Packers. It's a shame that Rodgers won't play, but still it'll be a good game. The 49ers Cardinals mentioned, Rams Titans. Obviously, I don't want to take them all because obviously I want to give you, I want to let you have your say on the Week 9 games. But there is some really juicy ones this week.
Yeah, well, Rams Titans is the obvious one for me because my team's on a bye this week, so I'm only watching I'm watching everyone else play. It's one of those weeks, where you say, "Oh, put your feet up and not worry about it too much because your team's not playing." So, I think Steelers Bears is going to be an interesting one to watch because I do think. The Steelers have sort of had an almost re-emergence after we sort of mocked them at the start of the year and said, Big Ben's washed, like this season's over for them. They've sort of started finding a way to get it done still. Because, that defense is still a very good defense and that is helping out big time. But, yeah, I think that's an interesting... Because, as I said earlier, I think Fields is making steps forward. So, that'd be a good one to watch. Chiefs-Packers is basically going to be the Aaron Jones show for the Packers, isn't it? But... Although I heard something about Blake Bortles playing for them, so I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. I hadn't seen. To be honest with you, I just presumed Jordan Love would start, but I hadn't actually seen anything new. What the confirmation is of who's playing?
Well, so did I at first, but then I definitely saw news earlier today talking about the Packers bringing in Blake Bortles or some crap. So I don't know, but yeah. It's the middle of the season where there's so many teams on bye that we do lose a couple of good games, but there's still some great games to watch here. Bengals Browns, that's to sort of decide the AFC North, basically, isn't it? They both play up there, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm same as you. Obviously, Seahawks on a bye week this week. I can sit back and enjoy football without not. But to be fair, we normally kick off late on a Sunday anyway, so I've watched some football before being disappointed. So it's not been too bad this year. But obviously, just the Dolphins Texans. Obviously, it's not one where it's winning teams and stuff. But Dolphins don't want to lose that one, will they? They've had a bad season. It would be really bad if they lose that one as well. Obviously, losing to the Jaguars over in London. Losing to the.
Is Brian Flores screwed if he loses this game? Is he just doomed?
It won't. I'll put it this way: it wouldn't be a good look, would it? If they go down against the Texans either.
Davis Mills comes in and batters you. That's a big problem.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like I said, there's some good games. Obviously, Eagles Chargers as well. Like I'm going to struggle. We normally like come on Sunday going, I'm going to watch this game, and like you choose a game, and like Mark says, game, so we can if we do end up talking about the certain games, we've got it kind of covered out from a certain person, and obviously we go back and watch the highlights as well. But I'll be struggling at the 6 and 9.25, especially 9.25. I probably might go for 49ers Cardinals, but Chiefs Packers looks good as well.
Yeah, I agree. That is a tough one. 6 o'clock, I think I'm going Ravens Vikings. It's a divisional opponent, and the Ravens. Right, I want to see if after the bye, Lamar's and the team are working well together, because I still think they're going to get Watkins involved in this offense, and I'm waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and obviously it starts tonight with the Jets and.
God, Adrian Peterson might play a snap of football this week.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. No, who would have thought that would? Obviously, he's always made himself available, hasn't he, and stuff. But I just didn't.
I didn't think anyone was going to pick him up. I thought after he didn't get picked up at the start of the year, that was basically going to be it. But I guess when people go down and needs must, you bring someone in, and Titans decided AP all day was the guy.
Be interesting to see how the Titans do. Obviously against Rams, like you say, with Derrick Henry going down. Obviously, AP did all right for you last year. Like I remember, like I said, I didn't watch loads of Lions games. I remember watching the Thanksgiving game, and I'm sure he had about 2 or 3 touchdowns. I don't think he run that far and stuff and everything. But
no, Darrell Bevel just wasn't a good play caller, man. That was the biggest problem for Adrian Peterson in our offense. Like he just got given crap. But I think AP might still be able to go. It'll be interesting to see. He's an older running back, man. How long do they don't normally last this long?
Frank Gore.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, like I say, is if there were going to be someone you picked out and said, I think he could still do a job, AP would be up there, wouldn't it? To be fair, I'm not saying he definitely will, but I wouldn't say he definitely won't.
You don't have to give up the house to bring him in either, do you? You're not giving up draft picks. You're not giving up money. You just a bit of money, but free agency money.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously we've wrapped it up there. Week 9 matchups to like, and hopefully we'll have a full house. We'll finish on a full house next week. Hopefully JP will be back. Hopefully he's getting better, and obviously Mark won't be working late on a Thursday, and we'll be good to go next week. But I've enjoyed it, man. It's been obviously we had a week off last week. We had a few things that went wrong, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. It's always good to talk to you all, and I mean. Going to be good going into next week, I guess. And see if we can come back from the bye and not be rubbish. But
yeah, at least we both won't be talking next week on week 9. We won't be talking about any of our teams.
Right.
So that's good. So it's something to look forward to.
You might have Wilson back the week after as well, based on everything I've seen on online about his recovery.
Yeah, but it's looking that way. It were an important win against Jags if we had. I'm not saying we're going to get the playoffs, but any chance. But I'm just looking forward to that next Thursday talking, knowing that we're not going to be on stock down, and you're not going to be on stock down either. So that's always a bonus in it to look forward to. But yeah, thanks very much for sticking around, Bones, and thank you, Mark. Obviously, he's shot off. He's been brilliant tonight, and we'll see you all next week, man.